Hi everyone, welcome back to another lightsaber video. This is another Graflex video, as you can see, and this time we're going to be talking about this Elstree prop. Just briefly about the history of this prop. This Graflex was found by the son of, I think, the manager or someone who worked at the Elstree Studios in London. Obviously the Elstree Studios is where a lot of episode 4, A New Hope, was filmed, and he actually found this in the trash, so it had been completely discarded, and he didn't really think much of it. The story is that this particular person who found this prop just gifted it to one of his friends, and it sat in that friend's collection for several years in a glass cabinet until it was eventually discovered, and there was actually a documentary made about the Elstree Studios, which is on YouTube. Eventually, this was passed on to some people who knew exactly what this was and how valuable it is, and eventually it made it into the hands of the prop store owners, Brandon Allinger, Stephen Lane. So it was in their personal collection in the prop store until I believe it was sold in 2019. But the prop itself, although it was not used in the film, it was clearly built to be used in the film in some capacity, probably as some sort of a stunt hilt. It must have been an early attempt that was then abandoned for whatever reason. So we all know that this is the hero in A New Hope. This is the belt hanger. The completely finished Graflex that sits on Luke Skywalker's belt and in close-up shots in his hand in its unlit state. So this is the hero hilt. We also know that he had a stunt hilt that I've talked about in a recent video, which was production made. It was not a Graflex at all, but it was a machined production made pipe that was dressed with various greeblies from a Graflex, such as the red button, the glass eye, and the clamp, as well as the grips and so on. But this housed a motor, and it had a switch and a cable, as you can see here, that would run under the actor's sleeve and connect into a power supply, so that Mark Hamill could press this button there and allow this rod to spin. With the blade connected, it will reflect against the light and give us that rotoscope effect that we have in A New Hope. So what we have here essentially in the Elstree is another static build, and this is an actual Graflex, just like this one. It looks like they were trying to come up with a solution for a stunt or a bladed stunt, but it looks like maybe it didn't work out, or they come up with some sort of obstacles along the way and they abandoned it, and this ended up in the trash until it was discovered years later and passed on to the prop store. So my take on this was, because obviously the prop store had it, there was really good quality reference pictures, so I was able to kind of zoom into everything and try to build my replica as close as possible to the original. So for this I used an original vintage Graflex 3-cell flash, which is a Fulmer with the patent number. As you can see here, the stamping, Fulmer, and you can see the patent number on the side. I used a vintage Exactra bubble strip, just like in the original. The thin knurled button, just like in the stunt hilt, and a sort of an early Fulmer style glass eye. I also removed the screw, removed the bunny ears and bent the tabs down just like in the original prop, and just added a little bit of rust and weathering here and there to match the reference material. This brown interesting disc that we see here was actually made by a friend of mine called Martin. I'm not actually sure what the purpose of this was. It might have been an attempt to kind of hold a blade down or something. I've seen other people use it from sort of foam or rubber to kind of create theirs, but Martin actually came up with a really, really cool solution. So one of these I'll just show you. This is my Rise of Skywalker. So the pommel that's on it, the aluminium cap there, he just glued two of these on top of each other just to add that thickness, and then just painted it brown, I think, and give it that really beautiful kind of speckled look. I'm just going to zoom into it a bit there, so it looks like it's got a build-up of rust. That really, really looks similar to the original prop. So thank you, Martin, for that. If you're watching, you did a great job, as usual. Over here, I just added a bit of rust here and there on the glass eye, removed the screw, etc. I stopped short of doing another mod here, where you can see in the original prop, it's sort of pinched, the shroud area. It's really warped, and there's some sort of damage and weld marks. I just didn't really feel like going that far with mine, to be honest. So I just kept it as it is. But the rest of it looks fairly close. I mean, I'll put up some pictures on the screen. A little bit of sort of painted rust on the clamp. An actual real rust here. The bubble strip, again, a little bit of dry brush paint and some weathering powders just to give it that dirty brown look that it has. And of course it's cut to size, and that top portion is cracked and it's chamfered there so it can sit between the shoulders of the clamp. Then finally I just added a little bit of E6000 there, some glue, and just kind of flaked it off and brushed it off so it looks sort of chipped, because I could see that in the original prop it looks like there might have been grips there. Most probably there were grips that were just pulled off at some point. And finally the pommel, a vintage D-ring, a vintage pair of rivets, and a custom machined clip, again made by Martin, who made this part. This is different to the one on the Hero, which can be purchased from Wonga. Just has a slightly different shape. As you can see on the Elstree, they're more off-centered, so they're sitting closer to the edge on the left there, whereas they're a little bit more centered on the Hero. There's a similar one that you can buy from Skywampa. It looks similar, but I actually prefer the way that Martin did his. And this was all sort of cut down as usual and glued on top. I didn't actually drill. I almost never do that, where I drill the flash and sort of pop the rivets in. This also allowed me to line up the D-ring exactly. The stamping was oriented exactly with the clamp, just like in the reference pictures. And we can see that the levers open quite a lot, even more so than the Hero. That's just how it looks in the reference picture, so I chose to kind of mimic that. Yeah, so that's really all there is to say about this one. Once again, it's the Elstree prop, another Graflex from A New Hope that was not screen used. It was probably an early attempt at creating a stunt hilt that was abandoned, and discarded and found years later and sold on the prop store. But it's still a vintage Graflex. It's still a cool part of the prop lineage from the original trilogy era, which I really like. I'm also on kind of a quest to complete all the Graflexes that were ever used, at least in the OT, so this just kind of had to be added to the collection. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.